So shall we start now? Good evening all.
Good evening, madam.
Good evening, ma'am.
Good evening, madam.
Good evening. Good evening. So we'll start now. It's already there.
Yes.
I think it is visible now. So in our block 4, we have depression in the unit 1. We will be discussing about what is depression, the types of depression, and how to deal with depression. So I think most of you must have experienced depression in your life. I'm not talking about clinical depression, depression
Yes,
of some
madam.
sort you must have experienced. None of you have experienced depression?
Yes, madam.
Yes,
Yes.
madam.
So how do you feel when you are depressed? I'm not talking about clinical depression. In this chapter, we will be talking about what is clinical depression, its symptom and all these things. But the depression, as you know, means what? Or how you feel when you are depressed.
When we cannot achieve success after multiple attempts to do anything, we
Hmm.
feel depressed, feeling not good, feeling a failure, and feeling less capacitated. And sometimes agony, anxiety increases that we want to escape from the situation like that.
You don't want to face that situation or avoid that situation. Then
Yes.
any other symptom? Others, please respond. I cannot see the screen, so please respond.
मैडम एग्रेशन भी होता है और इरिटेशन, छोटी छोटी बातों में गुस्सा आना,
चिड़चिड़ लगता है।
चिल्लाना। जी।
और क्या क्या होता है?
और अपना मिस्टेक नहीं देख करके लोग सामने वाले के ज्यादा मिस्टेक्स निकालते हैं।
मैंने दूसरे दूसरे को रेस्पॉन्सिबल ठहराते हैं हमारा
जी, ब्लेमिंग एटीट्यूड मैडम।
ब्लेमिंग एटीट्यूड। हाँ, और क्या है? अन्य माने टिके कुह पिला माने मु से स्क्रीन टा देखि पारुनी मु एटा को मोर लैपटॉप खराब है मु अन्य लैपटॉप टा यूज करछि एथिरे मु जानि पारनी केमति हबो एटा को स्क्रीन टा पूरा ओपन कर देइ छै त मु देखि पारनी ताको जाई पारुनी स्क्रीन को। नीलू कुमारी, you have
जी
responded.
मैडम।
सीता?
हाँ मैडम। जी जी मैडम, लैक ऑफ इंटरेस्ट, कोई भी चीज को प्रॉपरली नहीं करना, इरेगुलर, ये है इसका
ମାନେ
सिम्टम्स
ସବୁ
मैडम।
କଥାରେ ଲୋ ଫିଲିଂସ୍
मनु?
ଆସିବା,
हाँ,
ମାନେ ସବୁ
मोर
କଥାରେ ଲୋ ଫିଲିଂସ୍ ଆସିବା, ମାନେ
लो
ସେ
फील करिबा। हाँ हाँ।
डिप्रेस्ड लोक माने से माने भाबे मो पई ये एमती भाबुथु ए टाइप ता भावना बारंबार आस्तु नेगेटिव थॉट्स
हाँ नेगेटिव
नेगेटिव थॉट्स माने केमितिया
माने से निजे फील करथु जे मो माने को भी लोक ताकू चाहिले माने से भाबु मो ना मत माने मु किछि
विषय ही
भूल
किछि
करछि
कथा
कि
हाँ मो विषय ही
हाँ
कथा होचंती मते ही
हाँ
कहउचंती
हाँ एग्जैक्ट मैडम
मधुस्मिता
से प्रकार
षडंगी
फील
किछि हाँ मधुस्मिता षडंगी किछि कुह टिके शीघ्र शीघ्र अनुक्षा महाराणा किछि कुह वंदना परिडा
मैम
हाउ यू
फीलिंग
फील
सैडनेस
हाँ
फियर
हाउ
फियर भी हुए माने डर लगे भी
फियरफुल सब जिनस को हाँ ठीक अछि आउ
लैक ऑफ इंटरेस्ट
कोउटा भी हमको भल लागेनी सब जिनस हमको असुख लागे कोथिरे आमे खुशी हे पारंतीनी हाँ ठीक अछि आउ
लैक ऑफ इंटरेस्ट
आउ
डू नॉट वेल स्लीप
निद भी हे परिबनी बहुत समय इंसोम्निया हबो ए सब जिनस हाँ आउ
फूड
ठीक
इंटरेस्ट
अछि
भी कमी जाए
सब जिनस रे इंटरेस्ट भी कमी जाए हाँ ठीक अछि वंदना परिडा किछि कुह अनुषा महाराणा कौन लागे तुमको
सॉरी मैम क्वेश्चन टा कौन
जेतेबेले when we are depressed how do we feel कौन हमको लागे हम जतरा डिप्रेस्ड थाई सतिकी क्वेश्चन
फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल तो सैडनेस आसे
हाँ
लैक ऑफ इंटरेस्ट
हम्म
ऑल ऑफ थिंग्स सब जिनस रे लैक ऑफ इंटरेस्ट आसे एंड बी काम एंड क्वाइट भी रह जाओ
कास तो को इंटरैक्ट करिया पे इच्छा हुए नी
यस मैम
आउ
ଆଉ କୌଣସି କାମ ବି କରି ହୁଏନି ଏତେ ଇଣ୍ଟରେଷ୍ଟ ଗଲା ଆଉ ଚୁପଚାପ ରହୁ ବାକି
ठीक ठीक अछि हाँ so now let's start what is depression as written in your book egudako this is your experience of depression but what is clinical depression the things you are saying when you feel depressed that is about a temporary depression we experience we have never taken any medicine for such type of depression in our day to day life and throughout our life we have experienced depression for several times and for various reasons we have experienced depression but what is clinical depression when should one consult a counselor when should one go to a psychiatrist when should take it seriously the depression needs some sort of counseling or some sort of treatment that we will be discussing in this chapter so it is often thought of being an extreme state of sadness as you said some of you said that it is a state of sadness dukha pessimistic attitude ଆଉ ମୋର ଲାଇଫ ରେ କିଛି ନାହିଁ ଏଇ ସବୁ ଯୋଉ ହଉଛି that is depression but there is a great difference between what is the depression we are discussing now and we will be discussing now we were discussing about the depression that we have experienced that is about the sadness when we face any type of failure criticism or any adverse situation in our life we feel depressed but clinical depression is a state or is a situation where we need some sort of treatment so um, it's we cannot say that depression doesn't need any type of treatment ମୁଁ ଏମିତିଆ ଲାଗୁଏ ମୁଁ ଏଥିରେ କଣ ବ୍ୟସ୍ତ ହବାର ଅଛି ତାର ଟିକେ ପରୀକ୍ଷାରେ ଭଲ ମାର୍କ ଆସିନି ତ ସେ ଟିକେ ଡିପ୍ରେସଡ ଅଛି ତାର ଏବେ ବ୍ରେକଅପ୍ ହେଇଯାଇଛି ତ ସିଏ ଟିକେ ଡିପ୍ରେସଡ ଅଛି ତାର ବସ୍ ସହିତ ଝଗଡା ହେଇଯାଇଛି ବା ପଡୁନି ବୋଲି ସେ ଟିକେ ଡିପ୍ରେସ ଅଛି ସେଇଟା ଆମେ କହିପାରିବା ନାହିଁ in some cases we also require treatment so sadness or depression ଭିତରେ difference କଣ but the depression we were talking is a transient feeling and this lasts for a very short term or for a very small period but when it goes on for a week or for weeks together for months together or for even years together, that is called clinical depression, and we should consult a counselor, psychiatrist, or anyone who deals with mental health. तो जो लोक दुख बा कौन आम डिप्रेशन को कौन कहते पिले ओडिया विषादग्रस्त विषाद तार विषादर अनुभूति होची अल्प समय पई कि सेटा होची हम लाइफ में हमें ऑलरेडी एक्सपीरियंस करिसंती हमें करबा भी एंड सेटा बहुत अल्प समय पई जतले एटा बहुत समय पई हे जाए सेटा को हमें कहउचंती क्लिनिकल डिप्रेशन the sad person feels bad but continues to cope with it and lives a healthy life एतिक परीक्षा रे कम मार्क आसला हमें किछि दिन दुखी हेले तापर नाम मन मिसी गला ना ना धीरे धीरे मन मिसी जीवनी कि कोन एया बोली हमें कहउचंती दैट इज जो मन मिसीबा इज कोपिंग विथ द सिचुएशन एक्सेप्टिंग द सिचुएशन एज इट इज तापरे हम मन मिसी जाउची हमें भूली जाउचंती से कथाटा बा से दुखटा रहिले भी हम जीवन आगो को बढ़ई नउचंती किंतु in case of clinical depression the person feel overwhelmed and hopeless the life cannot go on smoothly the person cannot live a healthy life so but clinical depression that is though that is a mental disorder that also affects our physical health our physical health को भी gradually affect करे. So what are the signs and symptoms of clinical depression? आमे कहि परिबा तमे तो कहिलानी बहुत उडाक loss of interest माने कोन पिले loss of interest in the things in the activities the person usually love to do मते फिल्म देखिया पई बहुत खुशी मते खाइबा पई बहुत खुशी मते बुली जिबा पई बहुत खुशी but as I am depressed I am no more interested in this type of activity or I don't show any interest for visiting for moving around for watching a film and all these things then you can say that madam is really depressed dissatisfaction with life withdrawal from social activities किंतु जो लोक ऑलरेडी केबे भी सोशल एक्टिविटी को पसंद करूनी ताकू आमे कहि परिबानी जे से डिप्रेस्ड बोली सोशल एक्टिविटी को से सोशल गैदरिंग को पसंद जाउनी जे सेही नेचर से जाउथिला किंतु हठात रे से जाउ नाही लॉस ऑफ एनर्जी जोटा त माने कहि ना ए डिप्रेस्ड पर्सन ऑलवेज फील्स डल मूडी lethargic and he doesn't want to do any activity or any strenuous activity तमे ताकू you explain that in terms of disinterest or कोन कहिला गोटे feeling useless and hopeless irritability great concern with health problem our mental health is always associated with our physical health जेतेबेले आमे डिप्रेस थाउ जेतेबेले आमे मेंटली इल थाउ जेतेबेले आमे लो फील करू that also affects our physical health so it is associated with some sort of physical health problems also sadness and crying worry and self criticism जोटा तमानक भितर जणे कहिला जे कि ओटे कथा जता होची लागुची मो विषय रे ही आ कथा होची जोटा that exactly doesn't mean self criticism किंतु मु गोटे कोन भूल करछि सेति पई से माने मो विषय रे कथा होछन we start blaming ourselves जोटा even some तम कहिला जे we start blaming others also for our fault or for nothing we start blaming all difficulty in concentrating or making decision loss of appetite and weight आउ जोटा हमें कहिले सोइबारे अभी असुविधा हुए तो this is these are the general symptoms now coming to the psychological symptoms include symptoms related to our feeling thought and behavior feeling thought और behavior को हमें A B C भाबरे भी कहि परिबा B माने behavior A माने affect A F F E C T effect नो affect माने होची हमरो emotion so here feeling refers to the affect side thought that is also known as cognition so affect then cognition and behavior ABC of psychology बोली मध्य हुआ जाए So what is a psychological symptom? Feeling sad, blue, depressed, hopeless most of the day, greatly reduced interest or pleasure in almost all the activities, inability to think of anything that was enjoyable. So that is also another feeling of excessive guilt or feeling that one is worthless person. Usually when we are under heavy depression, we think of committing suicide, putting an end to our life because we feel as worthless, we feel hopeless, we feel helpless. Depression ro end ta jaiki sabubale huଏ committing suicide. Before that, if this suicidal ideation is identified, ତାହେଲେ ଗୋଟେ ଲୋକକୁ ବଞ୍ଚାଇ ଦିଆଯାଇ ପାରିବ. So depression is really a serious issue. ଆମେ ଯେତିକି କହୁଛନ୍ତି ଯେ ହଁ ହଁ ଟିକେ ମନ ଖରାପ ଅଛି ତାର, it is not like that. If it continues for a longer period, you should take your friend, you should take your relative, you should take the known person to some counselor or to some psychiatrist. କାହିଁକି ନା the person who is depressed, he or she won't go to or won't consult psychologist, psychiatrist on his own. He need to be taken to expert by some friends. Some friends should come to his rescue. Some near and dear ones should come to his rescue. Then another psychological symptom is slow, agitated movement, recurrent thought of dying or ending one's life with or without a specific plan. And there are, as I said, there are also some physical symptoms or physiological symptoms that is known as also somatic symptoms. Significant unintentional weight loss, decrease in appetite or less commonly weight gain and increase. It is not always that you lose weight. In most of the cases, or the present trend is when we are depressed, we are likely to gain weight because of bloating, and in some cases because of binge eating or bulimia. So we will also discuss those eating disorder, insomnia or excessive sleep. Khali anidra roga haba seya nuha. In some people, it may be excessive sleeping, and another is feeling loss of energy. ଏଇଥିରେ ଆମେ କହିପାରିବାନି ଏଇଟା ବି ହଉଛି ସେଇଟା ବି ହଉଛି. Loss of energy, low feel କରିବା ସହିତ energetic ବି ହଉଛି ଆମେ କହିପାରିବା ନାହିଁ. When someone is depressed, he usually feel fatigue, he feel loss of energy, diminishing ability to think, concentrate and make decision. Definitely when the person is depressed, he cannot take any logical decision because the mental coordination, the mental activity, the cognitive activity required to take a valid, justified, reasonable decision gets diminished or is reduced. Physical symptoms of anxiety including dry mouth, cramp, diarrhea, sweating, ideation of suicide or suicide attempt plans are some of the physical symptoms of depression. So what are the criteria for formal diagnosis of major depression? Major depression is at least 5 of the following symptoms must be present. जो आमे symptoms को पढ़िबा या मिथरु 5टा at least should be there, and the symptom must be present during the same 2-week period. टिके जो symptom थिबो, but that is for a day or two, we cannot call it as major depression or clinical depression. The symptom must represent a change from a previous level of functioning. एया भी होथिबा दरकार. तो कौन से सबू symptoms? Depressed mood nearly every day during most of the day, diminished interest, pleasure जोटा हमें पढ़िले, weight loss or weight gain थिबो, and there should be change in appetite. Appetite रो change अर्थ खाइबा कमी जिवो. जतरा हमें दुखी थांती usually हमें खाइबा कमी दे थांती, but बहुत जन अछंती भी जतबेले से माने डिप्रेस थांती, से माने आब्रु जाब्रु दुनिया रे जहा जिंस मरिबो ताकू कंटीन्यूअस खाई चलथांती just to divert their attention or just to get relief from the pain of depression. Overeating करिथांती, and that's why they gain weight. insomnia or hypersomnia. Insomnia is sleeplessness, whereas hypersomnia is excessive sleeping, psychomotor agitation or psychomotor retardation, fatigue or loss of energy, feeling of worthlessness, inappropriate grief. जोटा जो पांचटा symptom या भितरु थिबा दरकार, and that should be at least for 2 weeks. 2 weeks ପାଇଁ କି symptom गुडाका at least थिबा दरकार, and these symptoms what represent a change from the previous functioning बोली कहि कि कुआ जाउछि. से जो लोक एमिति ही हेतिबो ताले ताकू आमे ये कहि परिबानी, किंतु प्रीवियस सेमतिया नथिला हठात एमतिया होछि ताले कहिबा. Then the recurrent thought of death, recurrent suicidal ideation. Someone who has major depressive disorder has experienced one or more major depressive episodes without ever experiencing a manic or hypomanic episode. Manic कौन, hypomanic कौन, हमें आगु को पढ़िबा. तो major depressive episode कौन? It is marked by either depressed mood or loss of interest, pleasure in, and loss of pleasure in almost all activities. At least 4 additional symptoms must symptoms from the follow-up ei bitaru jaha achi sethiru charta. Au gote hochi recurrent major depressive disorder. It hochi at least half of the people who experience major depressive episode will later have recurrent of major depression. थरे जदि मेजर डिप्रेसिव डिसऑर्डर हैला और सी सेथुरु रिकवर करिकी आसीची, तापरे देयर आर चांसेस दैट दिस टाइप ऑफ मेजर डिप्रेसिव डिसऑर्डर may reoccur in his life again and again. For many people, an initial episode of major depression will develop over time into recurrent illness. जहार डिप्रेसिव डिसऑर्डर अछि एया नुह थरकरे सी क्योर हेजिबो. जहार डिप्रेसिव डिसऑर्डर अछि सेमिति 12 किछि दिन जाइथिबो से पूर्ण डिप्रेशन को जिवो, किछि दिन जाइथिबो से पूर्ण डिप्रेशन को जिवो, ए प्रकार होता है. अच्छा, can you tell me a famous person or famous celebrity in India who has declared herself as having depressive symptoms or going through depression? कहि परिबो कि?
दीपिका पादुकोण मैडम.
Deepika Padukone, she admitted that she has experienced depressive stage in her early life. Now even sometimes she faces depression. That's why ei thara jota मन की बात ना कोन पिले सेटा थिला, सेतिरे Deepika Padukone has come forward to share her experience with the people or with the students who are going to appear class 10th examination. The major depressive episode with psychotic feature, सेटा होची at least about 15% of the people with this depression have some psychotic symptoms associated with it. कौन से सब psychotic? अच्छा, psychotic disorder और neurotic disorder एमतिया clinical रो जदियो एटा, but however clinical psychology and counseling is related. Counseling होची milder form रा any type of mental disturbance, clinical होची major form of clinical disturbance. सेति पई कि काउंसलिंग रा बहुत उडा जिंस रे एते सब जो हमें पढुचंती, देखो हमें विभिन्न प्रकार क्लिनिकल सिम्पटम्स उडा विषय रे पढुचंती, जते उडा हमें काउंसलिंग पढिलेनी. इवन मोस्ट ऑफ द काउंसलिंग जणे कार म्यूट टिके करा पिला माने घिस घिस साउंड मध्यरे आसुची. तो से ताकू कोन कहिली पिले, हां साइकोटिक डिसऑर्डर आउ न्यूरोटिक डिसऑर्डर एटा सुनी छ कि दीटा टर्म?
जी मैडम.
अच्छी आइडिया किछि. मेंटल डिसऑर्डर जो होची हम मनीषर जो मेंटल डिसऑर्डर होची, वन इज कोन साइको न्यूरोटिक डिसऑर्डर, अनदर वन इज साइकोटिक डिसऑर्डर. तो कोन न्यूरोटिक डिसऑर्डर किछि आइडिया अछि, साइकोटिक कोन आइडिया अछि कि?
न्यूरॉन्स रिलेटेड जदि किछि थिबो, जदि से किछि कोप अप माने लर्निंग रे किछि थिबो.
आउ के
एपिलेप्सी डिजीज न्यूरोटिक.
हां, एपिलेप्सी रे कहि परिबो न्यूरो
फिट्स.
आउ के साइकोलॉजी पिले. I'm talking about mental disorder. Epilepsy is not a mental disorder. It is a physical, somatic disorder, brain-related disorder. As you said, it is related to neurons. Any disturbance in the neural functioning, neural impulses, there hoji epilepsy. That is true. But neurotic and psychotic is different. Neurotic disorder or neurotic mental disorder refers to the mental disorders with which the person can live in the society, can live in his family. He can maintain his daily life routine to some extent. तार लाइफ डिसफंक्शनल ହେଇଯିବନି तार लाइफ टाको किछि मात्रा मेंटेन करि परिबो कौन से गुडाक जेमिति हैला हमर फोबिया जेमिति हैला हमर एंजाइटी डिसऑर्डर जेमिति हैला हमर ऑब्सेसिव कंपल्सिव डिसऑर्डर जेमिति हैला हमर पोस्ट ट्रॉमेटिक डिसऑर्डर एई सब सहित वी कैन स्टे इन आवर होम वी डोंट रिक्वायर एनी टाइप ऑफ hospitalization. But psychotic disorders are those disorders or those mental disorders that require, I am talking mental disorder. These are mental disorders. And the psychotic patients, they need to be admitted to any hospital. They should be kept in the hospital because their symptoms are so severe that they cannot maintain a normal life with all these things. And even they lose touch with reality. ସେମାନେ ଆଉ ରିଆଲିଟିର ଟଚ୍ରେ ନଥାନ୍ତି ବଟ୍ ନ୍ୟୁରୋଟିକ୍ ପେସେଣ୍ଟସ୍ ନେଭର lose touch with reality. ସେମାନେ କୋଉଠି ଅଛନ୍ତି କଣ ହେଇଛି କେମିତି ତାଙ୍କ ଜୀବନ ଚଲେଇ ପାରନ୍ତି those they require some sort of treatment. Psychotic ମାନେ ସେମାନେ ତାଙ୍କର ଲାଇଫ କୁ they lose touch with reality and they require their life become dysfunctional. They cannot maintain a normal life in the normal society. So 80 कहुची the major depressive episode with psychotic feature. So 15% of the people having this major depression are likely to have some psychotic symptoms like delusion. अच्छा पहले दीटा तीनटा concept अछि in perception you must have studied illusion, hallucination, and this delusion is not there in perception, but this is a clinical symptom, clinical feature of psychotic patient, particularly schizophrenics. They experience delusion. ଯେତେବେଳେ କି illusion, hallucination is experienced by normal people, this delusion is experienced by people having psychotic disorder like schizophrenia. तो से जो कहूची illusion is a wrong perception, hallucination is a false perception. दौड़ीटे पड़ी we start feeling that this is a साप, that is illusion. किछि भी दौड़ी नाही ताको फील करिबो जे सेठी सापटे किछि भी नाही ताको फील करिबो जे से सबुदिन मु सेठी साप देखुची, that is delusion. That is purely a mental disorder. Illusion, hallucination is experienced by normal people. So, एइथिरे कहूची the 15% of people having this major depression, they also have delusion. Delusions are typically delusions are of different types, but people having major depression, they experience delusions which include guilt, which include punishment. It is my fault. तम भितर किए जने कहला नाइ ने मोर जगु होची नाइ ने सेमाने मो विषय रे कथा होचंती, that is delusion. Punishment or poverty एई सब होची एई टाइप रो delusions एई लोक माननकु हेई थाए. आउ गोटे टाइप रो dysthymic disorder क्राइटेरिया गोटे प्रकार हैला मेजर डिप्रेशन, आउ गोटे होची dysthymic disorder. एटी गोटे कोठी छाडी देली तमकु. So these are the types of depression. एटी कोठी गोटे मिस कली. तो ठीक अच्छी मेजर डिप्रेशन पढ़ले तापरे नेक्स्ट वन इज another type of depression is dysthymic disorder. So depressed mood for most of the day, for more days than not, as indicated either by subjective account or observation by other, for at least 2 years. In children, adults, and mood can be irritable. And this is a milder form of depression. The presence, while depressed, of two of the symptoms, loss of appetite, insomnia, low energy, low self-esteem, lack of concentration, feeling of hopelessness. During 2 year period. In case of children, it is 1 year. So 2 year period no major dysthymic disorder hela mane there should not be any major depressive episode. Kaina se guda ko jo panchta ta bitru heithibo semtia hei nathibo. There has been manic episode also, mixed episode. Manic kon episode taku bi padiba, dysthymic, manic, hypomanic. एगुड़ाक विभिन्न प्रकार डिप्रेसिव एपिसोड्स एंड साइक्लोथिमिक डिसऑर्डर एगुड़ाक भी विभिन्न प्रकार डिसऑर्डर अच्छी, डिप्रेसिव डिसऑर्डर अच्छी. सो द सिम्पटम्स आर नॉट ड्यू टू डायरेक्ट फिजियोलॉजिकल इफेक्ट ऑफ. अच्छा, बहुत समय कौन होता है आमे कौन सी मेडिसिन खाई थांती सेति पई कि हमर साइड इफेक्ट रे वी शो डिप्रेसिव सिम्पटम्स. So we cannot call that as a depressive disorder, and we cannot take treatment for that depressive disorder. So most people have tell that they have felt depressed for many years. For as long as they remember, feeling depressed seems normal to them. It has become a way of life. They feel helpless to change their life. So dysthymic disorder is defined as a condition characterized by mild chronic depressive symptoms. मत तो जीवन सारा तो मु डिप्रेसिव, मत तो सब बेले ही एमिति लागु. तते कोन लागु तू केमति एते खुशी रहउछु? एटा होची डिस्टिमिक लोक माने कहिबे. से माने फॉर their whole life they experience this milder form of this depression, and that is also a chronic depression. तो सारा जीवन जाक पई कि से माने लो ही फील करी कि थांती. Okay, in some people there are periods of dysthymia also. So major depressive symptoms और dysthymia भीतर difference बुझी पारला कि?
हाँ मैडम. मेजरली माने बेसिक थिबो और लिमिटेड टाइम पाई थिबो.
टाइमिंग एंड इंटेंसिटी also.
हाँ, इंटेंसिटी लो थिबो किंतु टाइम टे प्रोलॉन्ग थिबो, इवन मे बी एक्सटेंडेड टू द लाइफ टाइम.
Our intensity टा भी हाई नथिबो.
Intensity बहुत low थिबो, so that we cannot term it as a clinical disorder or anything.
एया कहि कि आउ गोटे एठी देखो DSM-4 लेखा है. What is DSM-4?
DSM-4.
Any idea about this DSM-4?
पाउनी को पेज नंबर टा
केही जाने केते जण पिला अछरे?
पाउनी मैडम पेज नंबर.
नहीं मैडम, नहीं कहां
एटा कोन मु लेख को पेज मु केमति कहिबी एते कोन देखा जाउची मते एते मु देखि पारनी वर्तमान से ये नहीं. 10 नंबर पेज रे अछि DSM-4. सेरा किछ पाइबा दरकार नै कुह.
हां,
साइकोलॉजी पिला कुह.
डायग्नोस्टिक स्टैटिस्टिकल मैनुअल.
कोन
मैम DSM हला डायग्नोस्टिक स्टैटिस्टिकल मैनुअल.
साइकोलॉजी पिला व्हाट इज DSM?
यस मैम.
डायग्नोस्टिक स्टैटिस्टिकल मैनुअल जे कहछ से साइकोलॉजी पिला की?
ओके मैम.
कोन DSM-4 कोन? Which DSM is now in use? कहि परिबा? अच्छा, DSM होची डायग्नोस्टिक स्टैटिस्टिकल मैनुअल. That is a book that lists all type of mental disorder. आउ गोटे ICD अछि, गोटे DSM, दी प्रकार अछि. क्लिनिकल तमेने बिल्कुल क्लिनिकल पढु न बोधे. काउंसलिंग पिला मानकर क्लिनिकल से माने को अलगा स्पेशलाइजेशन, तमरो अलगा स्पेशलाइजेशन बोधे.
हां मैडम मु पीजी केमिस्ट्री थिली मैडम.
नहीं वर्तमान इग्नू रे
हाँ इग्नोर रे डायरेक्ट मो पीजी करूची मैडम साइकोलॉजी रे
मु पचारछि इग्नू रे जहार काउंसलिंग स्पेशलाइजेशन से माने क्लिनिकल किछि भी पढु न ह बोधे
यस मैम एटा स्पेशलाइजेशन रहउची जे काउंसलिंग नउची तार
अच्छा ठीक
क्लिनिकल
अछि
पार्ट नाही
ठीक अछि ठीक अछि usually they should get a brief idea about clinical psychology also के केते एटा bipolar disorder these all are clinical ये एटा अछि तो तमर पाठ रे ना मु आउ कोठु आन की पढी दोछि पिले
नहीं एटा अच्छी मैडम
अछि तो हां कने एटा
हाँ
सब
मैडम
क्लिनिकल हां एगुडा क्लिनिकल ही DSM होची diagnostic statistical manual that is a list of the mental disorders ICD टा कोन
हां आटा ऑप्शन
तार फुल फॉर्म टा कोट रे पिले इंटरनेशनल क्लासिफिकेशन ऑफ डिजीजेस हला आईसीडी वर्तमान आईसीडी 10 इज इन यूज तार विभिन्न रिवीजन होची विथ टाइम with changing our lifestyle with change in technology we are also changing the type of disorders are also changing we cannot use the term disease here disease refers to physical ailments or physical diseases disorder refers to mental disorder mental issues so time ସହିତ ଆମର ଯେମିତି ଟେକ୍ନୋଲୋଜି ଚେଞ୍ଜ ହଉଛି ଆମର ଲାଇଫଷ୍ଟାଇଲ ଯେମିତି ଚେଞ୍ଜ ହଉଛି ଆମର ଡିଜର୍ଡର ଗୁଡା ବି ସେମିତି ଚେଞ୍ଜ ହଉଛି and with that this statistical manual DSM ବି ଚେଞ୍ଜ କରି କରି ଅପଗ୍ରେଡ କରାହେଇକି now the latest version is DSM 5TR DSM 5TR that होची DSM 5 रो revised version टा is the latest one but we are actually following DSM 5TR टा बोधे 2022 रे ହେଇची DSM 5 टा 2019 ना 14 रे ହେଇची तो we are using this DSM 5 ये but as I think this is a book written a few years back or however I don't know why they have used this DSM 4 criteria DSM hela DSM 1 2 3 4 DSM 3 hela pare tar TR heichi emti bahut uda revision heichi eithire jo lekha heichi DSM 4 seita hochi जो यार previous version टा थिला ताना DSM 4 ता पर version टा actually हमें use करछु and the book is also published that is DSM 5 if any one of you is interested in knowing what is DSM 5 you can search it in the web and you can also download the PDF soft version of DSM 5 this is just to inform you this is not a part of your syllabus DSM 4 5 GAB से DSM माने याकू सबु लिस्ट करिकी रखिचंती सेमती ICD भी आ गोटे प्रकार क्लासिफिकेशन ICD DSM ऑलमोस्ट से माने क्लासिफिकेशन ऑफ डिजीजेस ICD टा होची क्लासिफिकेशन ऑफ डिजीजेस से जो फिजिकल डिजीजेस को भी क्लासिफाई करछि ये होची मेंटल डिजीजेस पाइके तो तम आमे पढिले डिप्रेशन में मेजर डिप्रेसिव सिम्पटम्स dysthymic depression symptoms now another one is there that is known as bipolar by as the name suggests bipolar यार बीटा पोल अछि how many of you are listening ना गुडा को ठीक है
मैडम सुने हैं ये सुशांत सिंह राजपूत का केस था मैडम ये बाइपोलर डिसऑर्डर का ही था
बाइपोलर का था
जी
क्या होता है फिर बाइपोलर में कुछ आइडिया
मैडम वो जो सुसाइड किए थे बता रहे थे कि उसका ये उसी टाइम में ये सब आया हुआ था मैडम
आया हुआ था
हाँ उस टाइम में इसका बहुत बाइपोलर डिसऑर्डर का बता रहे थे
हाँ किए कहि पारिबो व्हाट इज बाइपोलर बाइपोलर
इसमें मूड स्विंग्स ज्यादा होता है
बाइपोल माने दीटा पोल अछि दीटा पोल
हाँ
अछि दीटा एक्सट्रीम एंड अछि एथिरा ता अर्थ समथिंग दैट इज ऑफ और दैट हैज टू एक्सट्रीम एंड्स ठीक अछि मु कहूची तमाने देखिबो निजे टिके सर्च करिकी सरला परे क्लास सो एइटर बाइपोलर भी बाइपोलर 1 2 एमिति कहि के अछि बाइपोलर disorder is about that includes two states one is manic and another one is depressive here it is written in B point B I think my screen is visible to you
yes madam, yes madam,
एइथरे देखो मैनिक कहि कि गोटे लेखा आइछि आ डिप्रेसिव एपिसोड लेखा आइछि तो एटा हेई पारे except for duration are currently made for manic, a hypomanic, a mixed or major depressive episode. Bipolar को आमे एमिति कहि परिबा manic and depressive episode. केते बेले डिप्रेसिव माने तमे जानिलो मेजर डिप्रेशन रे जो जहा सब तमाने सब कहि सारलानी डिप्रेशन विषय जानिबा किछि आ एते आवश्यकता नाही. Manic state होची जत्ता बेले one feels fully energetic. Manic state is what exactly opposite of the depressive state. से बहुत खुशी हेतिबो तार जति के कैपेसिटी बियॉन्ड काम करिया को लागिबो से ऊपर पड़ी के सब काम करिया को लागिबो समस्त से निजे खुशी हवा ता चारिपट को खुशी करेइबो सब समय रे तार एनर्जेटिक फील करिवो सब जिंस रे जहा हमें सिम्पटम्स सब कथा हेले सेटा सेई सब जिंस मैनिक स्टेज रे देखेइबो. So there are some people who have this type of bipolar disorder also. तमरा पाख पाखरे जो मान को देखुथिबो डिप्रेसिव डिसऑर्डर अछि बोली जदि किछि दिन ऑब्जर्व करिवो you may find that some of them are having this bipolar disorder also. अरे ये तो एते डिप्रेस ठीक रहउतला कोन आजिकली से खाली सब एटा करबी सेटा करबी चाले पे फिल्म जिबा चाले मार्केट जिबा आज एटा रांधी देलानी काली सेटा से लुणा पिता जहा करछु करू एटा रांधी बाडी के रखि देलानी एही सब प्रकार से माने करिवे आख पाखरे भी त माने देखि परिबो जदि कोनोसी लोक को ऑब्जर्व करिवो. So there have these are the criteria of bipolar 1 disorder एटा जहा देछि they particular mute कर दिया. There has previously been at least one manic episode or mixed episode. किए manic थिबो कि depressive आ यार manic depressive थिबो आमे जोटा dystemic पढिले तार opposite होची hypomanic और बहुत panic ये है कि थिबो जोटा होची hypomanic state. The mood symptoms cause clinically significant distress and impairment in social, occupational and other important areas of functioning. The mood symptom in criteria A, B are not better accounted for schizoaffective disorder, schizophrenia, these are the yeah. Then the bipolar 2 disorder कौन सब criteria अछि. So these are the criteria. तापरे होची criteria for cyclothymic disorder for at least 2 years the presence of numerous period with hypomanic. आमे dysthymic रे कोन पढिले dysthymic रे milder form of symptoms पढिले एइथरे major form of milder नहीं एइथरे acute form or higher form of manic symptoms जोटा सेतरे depressive देखेबो एइथरे manic symptoms देखेबो. So during the above 2-year period the person has not been without any symptom in criteria N, criteria 1 for more than no major depressive episode, manic episode, or the symptom in criteria A. Eta hochi hypomanic ra cyclo another one is seasonal affective disorder बोली मध्य गोटे अछि. Seasonal affective disorder कोन जानिछ कि पिला माने SAD
no idea.
seasonal affective
किछि सीजन रे हुए
though we have not ever experienced this type of disorder but we have always experienced such type of mood. कौन seasonal affective
जेमति खरा रे टिके सोइबा को इच्छा हुए बेसी शीत टाइम रे टिके काम करबा को बेसी इच्छा हुए काइंड ऑफ.
The season actually creates a particular emotion within us that when it disturbs our daily life we call it seasonal affective disorder. Usually this SAD is not experienced in our Indian context but in foreign countries people experience this SAD सेटा केते बेले हुए जते बेले winter रे snowfall हुए बहुत दिन धरि की सेते बेले लोक माने घरु बाहरी पारंतिनी सनरेज पाई पारंतिनी and they go through this seasonal affective disorder. एठी कोठी लेखा हेतिबो people with SAD are often treated with light therapy देखो लेखा हेति, and they experience depression during the particular months of the year. काहे ना सेही समय रे ठंडा पडुथाए, स्नोफॉल होथाए. ମୁଁ କହିଲି ଆମେ ମାନେ ବି ଏଇ ପ୍ରକାର ଏକ୍ସପିରିଏନ୍ସ କରୁ, ଦୋ ଦ୍ୟାଟ୍ ଇଜ ନେଭର ଏ ଡିସଅର୍ଡର ଫର ଅସ୍, ବଟ୍ ମତେ ଟିକେ ଏମିତି ଲାଗୁଛି. सिंपल कथा होची
मैडम कोरोना में जैसे हुआ था,
हाँ
मैडम कोरोना के टाइम में जैसे हुआ था
हाँ हाँ
कुछ लोग.
नहीं
हाँ
ସେଇଟା କହିପାରିବାନି ଆମେ, as we are discussing about season, ତ ଏକୁ season context ରେ କହିବା, season context ରେ କହିବା. କଣ ତମେ ଜଣେ କହିଲେ ଖରା ବେଳେ ଖାଇ ପିଇକି ଟିକେ ଶୋଇବାକୁ ମନ ହୁଏ, ଯୋଉଟା that is not a disorder or that is not a problem for us. ଆମେ ଖାଇ ପିଇକି ଶୋଇବା ମାନେ ଆମ ପାଇଁ କି healthy ହିଁ, କିନ୍ତୁ ସେ ଯୋଉ season that creates a feeling within us that we should take rest. ଟିକେ ପଖାଳ ପଖାଳ ହେଇଥାନ୍ତା, ଟିକେ ଥଣ୍ଡା ଏସି ଅନ୍ କରିଦେବି, ମୁଁ ଖାଇ ପିଇକି ଶୋଇବି, କିଛି ଆଉ କାମ ଖରା ବେଳରେ କରିବି ନାହିଁ, ସକାଳରୁ ଖରା ବାହାରିଲା ପୂର୍ବରୁ କାମ ଦାମ କରିଦେବି, ଆଉ ମୁଁ କୁଆଡେ ବି କିଛି କାମ କରିବିନି, ଚୁପଚାପ ହେଇକି ବସିକି ରହିବି. Actually we are not feeling depressed, but we are enjoying the season in that way. ଏଇଟା ଯଦି ଡିସଅର୍ଡର ଫର୍ମ କୁ ଆସିଲା, ଏଇଟା ଆମେ ସିଜନ. ଆଉ ଆମେ ଏକ୍ସପିରିଏନ୍ସ କରନ୍ତି ଆଜି ଟିକେ ପକୁଡି ଖିଆ ପାଗ ହେଇଛି, କହୁଛନ୍ତି ନା ନାହିଁ? ଯେତିକି ଜଣ ଅଛନ୍ତି ସମସ୍ତେ will agree with me. ଟିକେ ଲୋ ପ୍ରେସର ହେଲା, ଭଲ ବର୍ଷା ଚାଲିଛି ଆମ ଆଡେ, ଆଉ ଆମେ ଆଜି ଟିକେ ପକୁଡି କରିକି ଖାଇବା ପାଇଁ ବାହାରିଛୁ, ଟିକେ ଚା ଆଉ ପକୁଡି କରିକି ଖାଇବୁ. ମୁଁ ଏବେ କହିଲା ମାନେ ଶୁଣିକି ଏତେ ଭଲ ଲାଗୁନଥିବ, କାହିଁକିନା ଟେମ୍ପରେଚର ଯେତେ ବଢିଲାଣି, ତେଲ କଥା ପକୁଡି କଥା ଶୁଣିଲେ ଟିକେ ଚିଡଚିଡ ହେଇକି ଲାଗୁଛି. ଆଉ କିନ୍ତୁ ସେଇ ପ୍ରକାର ବି ଆମର ମନ ହଉଛି. ସେମିତି ଯେତେବେଳେ ଫରେନ୍ କଣ୍ଟ୍ରିଜରେ ସ୍ନୋଫଲ ହୁଏ, ସେତେବେଳକୁ ଆମକୁ ମାନେ ସେଇ ଯୋଉ ସେଇ ଏରିଆର ଲୋକମାନେ seasonal, the months together they don't see the sun. For months together they cannot go out of their home. For months together they are stuck up in their home. ସେମାନଙ୍କୁ କେମିତିଆ ଫିଲ୍ ହଉଥିବ? ଆଉ ସମସ୍ତେ ଜାଣିଥିବ, this sunlight is so much necessary for us. It creates happy hormone. ଆମ ବଡିରେ happy hormone, ତାର ନାଁ ଡୋପାମାଇନ୍. କଣ ରେ ତା ନାଁ?
ଡୋପାମିନ୍.
ଡୋପାମିନ୍ କ୍ରିଏଟ୍ କରୁଛି ଇଏ ହାପି ହର୍ମୋନ୍, ଡୋପାମିନ୍ ଇଏ କରୁଛି. ଆଉ ଏଣ୍ଡୋରଫିନ୍ ବି ତ ନୁହଁ, ଏଣ୍ଡୋରଫିନ୍ କରୁଛି କି? ଯୋଉ ସନଲାଇଟ୍ ଆମର ଦେହରେ happy hormone secrete କରୁଛି, and that saves us from depression. ଯେତେବେଳେ when we are not exposed to sun for a longer period, ଏଇଆ ନୁହଁ ଯେ 4 ଦିନ ଆମର ଲୋ ପ୍ରେସର ଯୋଗୁ ବର୍ଷା ହେଇଗଲା, ଆମେ ଖରା ଦେଖି ପାରିଲୁନି, ତ ଆମର ଡୋପାମିନ୍ ସିକ୍ରେସନ କମିଯିବ, ଆମେ ଡିପ୍ରେସ ହେଇଯିବ, ଏଇଆ ନୁହଁ. 4 ଦିନ ପରେ, 8 ଦିନ ପରେ, 10 ଦିନ ପରେ ନିଶ୍ଚିତ ଭାବରେ ଆମ ଇଣ୍ଡିଆରେ ଖରା ବାହାରିବ. ସେଥିପାଇଁ we never experienced ଏଇ ଟାଇପ ଅଫ ଡିସଅର୍ଡର. ଆମେ କହିପାରିବା ଯେ ଅତ୍ୟଧିକ ଖରା ଯୋଗୁ ବି ଆମେ ଏ ପ୍ରକାରର ଡିସଅର୍ଡର କୁ ଏକ୍ସପିରିଏନ୍ସ କରୁଥାଇ ପାରନ୍ତି. ତ ଦିସ୍ ଇଜ ସିଜନାଲ ଆଫେକ୍ଟିଭ ଡିସଅର୍ଡର. ଆଚ୍ଛା, କାଲି ଯୋଉ ମୁନ୍ ଟା ଥିଲା, ଶରତ ପୂର୍ଣ୍ଣିମା କାଲି କୁହାହଉଛି ନା, ଗତକାଲି ଯୋଉଟା ଥିଲା ଶରତ ପୂର୍ଣ୍ଣିମା, ସେ ମୁନ୍ ର ନାଁ ହଉଛି ଆଇସ୍ ମୁନ୍, ସ୍ନୋଇ ମୁନ୍. ତାକୁ ହଙ୍ଗର ମୁନ୍ ବୋଲି ମଧ୍ୟ କୁହାଯାଉଛି, ସ୍ନୋଇ ମୁନ୍ ବୋଲି ମଧ୍ୟ କୁହାଯାଉଛି, ଆଇସ୍ ମୁନ୍ ବୋଲି ମଧ୍ୟ କୁହାଯାଉଛି, ଷ୍ଟର୍ମି ମୁନ୍ ବୋଲି ମଧ୍ୟ କୁହାଯାଉଛି. ଗତକାଲି ଯୋଉ ଥିଲା ଶରତ ପୂର୍ଣ୍ଣିମା, ଗତକାଲି ତ ପୂର୍ଣ୍ଣମୀ ଥିଲା ନା, ସେଟାକୁ ତାର ନାଁ କାହିଁକି ଏମିତି ହେଇଛି? ବିକଜ ଡ୍ୟୁରିଂ ଦିସ୍ ପିରିୟଡ there is a heavy snowfall in the countries in the northern pole, and the snow, the moon if appears looks like snowy moon, or we visualize the moon from the snow covered land. That's why it is called snowy moon. Hunger moon भी बा hungry moon एमिति बोली भी तार नाम अछि, काहेकि ना because of heavy snowfall during the early days, people used to starve because of this heavy snowfall and lack of enough फूड सप्लाई सेथिପାଇଁ ताकू हंग्री मून बोली मध्य कुहा जाए शरद पूर्णिमार मून को किंतु आम पाई कि शरद पूर्णिमार मून इज ए मून ऑफ और शरद पूर्णिमा इज ए टाइम ऑफ सेलिब्रेशन आमर जति सब एटा बसंत ऋतु सेथिପାଇଁ कि वी सेलिब्रेट दिस पीरियड सेथिପାଇଁ आम पाई कि ये हैप्पीनेस रो गोटे सिंबल किंतु जोटा नॉर्दर्न पोल रो पाई कि पीपल को पाई कि दैट इज नॉट ए ये so now coming to seasonal affective disorder so the emotion experienced during this depression includes the same as the symptom of depression or major depression so people suffering from this depression can feel less motivated to participate in activity all those things we have discussed earlier. It can be a single episode or it can be recurrent episodes of SAD. Another one is unipolar dysthymic जोटा हमें पढ़िले unipolar माने से गोटे प्रकार ही symptom देखेबो either depressive or manic जोटा dysthymic जोटा हमें पढ़िले chronic and depression for long duration the same thing is here. So what are the causes of depression? Causes of depression, anything when we are discussing about clinical part is discussed in terms of genetic or physiological causes. Another one is psychological causes. Under that psychological causes, there are some psychoanalytic causes, then behavioral causes, and psychosocial causes को हमें ता अंदर रे डिस्कस कर परिबा बुझी पारछो पिले causes can be physiological cause रे first होची genetic any disorder we acquire or we experience that is because of the genes we have inherited from our parents or ancestors if they had any type of mental issues then we are also likely to carry those genes and those mental disorders and genetics सहित जो physiological causes कहली सेतिर अन्य cause होची any type of abnormality in the structure of the brain as well as in the functioning of the brain or in the secretion of neurotransmitters or hormones that can also be a cause of any type of mental disorder same is for this depressive disorder then another one is psychological factor जोटा को मु तमु कहली जे psychodynamic बा psychoanalytic causes बोली कहि परिबा और आमे कहि परिबा behavioral causes बा जो आमे पढिले through faulty association through faulty learning we have learned those things आउ गोटे कहि परिबा सोशल एथिरे जेंति देइछि ट्रॉमेटिक एक्सपीरियंस सच एज अब्यूज एटा को हमें सोशल कॉज बोली कहि परिबा मेडिकल इलनेस ताकू हमें भी गोटे प्रकार रो फिजियोलॉजिकल एटा मेडिकल इलनेस का फिजियोलॉजिकल कॉज रहिबा कथा ट्रॉमेटिक experience of war or accidents if someone has experienced war or accident he or she is likely to experience depression job stress loss of job any conflict in the job setup that also can be a cause of depression सेटा होची then psychoanalytic theories or psychoanalytic cause होची हमर childhood memories पुणी से repressed childhood memories जो गुडा को हमर stored in our unconscious that also creates depression within us then interpersonal theories जोटा कहूची कि people who have poorer social skills they cannot mix up with people they are likely to experience depression तमे जहा सहित भी गोटे भल्लो रे कथा ही पारुनो भल्लो रे फ्रेंडशिप डेवलप करि पारनो ताले भी डिप्रेशन हमें फील करि थांती कॉग्निटिव थियोरीज faulty or erroneous perception erroneous interpretation misinterpretation of the event also ये जोटा तम भितर जणे कहले जे हमें जतरा डिप्रेस्ड we feel as if others are talking about us हमें रास्ता रे जाउथु हमें भाबिया को लागु जे सिए मो विषय रे कथाता होछि बोले but that you said this in terms of the symptoms, but this can also be the cause of depression. ମୁଁ ଦେଖିଲି ଯେ ମୁଁ ଗଲା ଆସିଲା ବେଳୁ ଲୋକ ତାଙ୍କ ଭିତରେ କଥା ହଉଛନ୍ତି, ସେଇଟାକୁ ଦେଖି ମୁଁ ଭାବିଲି ସେମାନେ ମୋ ବିଷୟରେ ହିଁ କଥା ହଉଛନ୍ତି। ମୁଁ guilty mind, I will start feeling that they are talking about me, I have done something wrong, I am guilty, I should be एमती सब erroneous perception, misinterpretation of the situation करके ମୁଁ भी भाबिବାକୁ ଲାଗିବି जे ନାହିଁ I am depressed। तो ये जो कॉग्निटिव थियोरीज रे बेक्स कॉग्निटिव ट्रायड गोटे अछि, कॉग्निटिव एरर्स कोन काहे कि एमिति हमर डिप्रेशन व्हाट आर द कॉग्निटिव फैक्टर्स, कॉग्निटिव कॉज रे अछि, व्हाट आर द cognitive errors we commit or biases we commit, arbitrary interference, black and white thinking, एटा और सेटा सब जिनस एटा और सेटा नो, there are some between the lines thing also, we ignore that thing, magnification, minimization and over generalization सेठी जोगु भी हुए। So you can see that there are different theories or causes of depression। कौन कौन हमें पढ़िले पिले एबे कहबो किए जाने? Another one is helplessness theory, that people learned helplessness बोली गोटे मार्टिन सेलिगमैन कर कांसेप्ट थिला। जेतबेले आमे देखिले कोनोसी प्रकारर आमे किछि करि पारु नाहंती, आमे जेते चेष्टा सत चेष्टा सत्वे भी मु आउ किछि करि पारुनी, जोटा तम भितर जणे कहिलो जे this may be when I asked you about the symptoms of the depression, you said madam after a repeated failure we are likely to experience depression, एमतिया कहि कहउतला, that is the cause of depression or that is known as learned helplessness theory। आउ मु अन्य कोटा चेष्टा करिबि, मु तो चेष्टा करी सेइतरे हारिली एइतरे हारिली, मु आउ कोन चेष्टा करिबि। So that is a symptom of depression। मु चेष्टा ही करिबिनी, I don't show interest in anything। So कोन कोन हमें डिस्कस करले पिले यार थियोरीज कोन कॉजेस उडा का केते जण अछरे? 10 जण पिला अछ, केही रेस्पोंड करू ना?
हां मैम जी मैडम
म्यूट कर दउची मैडम, मजी मजी रे टिके डिस्टर्ब होबो बोली।
कोन हे जल्स रे
म्यूट कर दउची मजी मजी रे साउंड आसीबो बोली।
साउंड डिस्कनेक्टेड ही होची।
नहीं मैडम आमे हमर माइक टाको म्यूट कर दउछु मजी मजी रे।
हां
जेहेतु आपन को डिस्टर्ब होबनी मजी रे बोली।
But when I am asking you questions, you should unmute your mic।
Yes madam, do it।
what are the causes? मते टी कोह त माने टी मु टी 2 मिनिट रेस्ट निए।
मैम जेनेटिक फैक्टर,
साइकोलॉजिकल फैक्टर्स, साइकोएनालिटिक
फैक्टर तापरे
थियोरीज,
साइकोएनालिटिकल
थियोरी न कहि कि ताकू कॉजेस भी कहि दे परिबो। एक्चुअली these are the theories that explain causes of depression, सेटिफाइंग कि that is written in terms of
interpersonal theories, cognitive theories।
हां इंटरपर्सनल कॉग्निटिव केही कोन पुओ पिला नाहंती कि रे, ओनली झियो मानकर आवाज ही मु सुनुची।
जिमे
अरुण पुष्पांजलि महाराणा किए रे? पुष्पांजलि महाराणा, बी गायत्री, बी गायत्री, अरुण हाँ कि कौन कहूथिले पिले जो माने को जो माने सुनुचो से माने एटलीस्ट को
लास्ट हेल्पलेसनेस थियोरीज।
Okay. Helplessness theory, cognitive theory, interpersonal theory, social theory, psychodynamic theory, then
psychoanalytical theory,
physiological causes, psychological causes, social causes, एमती सब विभिन्न प्रकार causes. All the causes are there in your book. A brief idea you have got now that this theory refers to this. The next is Gemiti. Why I am repeating the causes? Jaha jaha cause but theories are there behind depression or any type of mental disorder. Say theorist माने always they have suggested a treatment. जेमती आमे psychoanalysis पढ़िले psychotherapy से माने कहिचंती आमे जेमती पढ़िले existential person center ସେମାନେ ତାଙ୍କର ଗୋଟେ theory କହିଛନ୍ତି gestalt ମାନେ ଯେମତି କହିଛନ୍ତି behaviorist ମାନେ ଯେମତି କହିଛନ୍ତି ସେମିତି ଯେତିକି ଗୁଡା ଆମେ cause ପଢିଲେ ସେତେ ପ୍ରକାରର ସବୁ theory ଗୁଡାକ sorry therapy ଗୁଡାକ ଅଛି for treatment of any type of mental issues. So here as we are discussing depression in terms of clinical depression, but if a person comes to you with milder depression that you can handle, that you can try to resolve. बेसी जदि severe अछि he or she will go to a psychiatrist नहला माने counselors can also ये किंतु एई जो ट्रीटमेंट गुडा हमें पढ़िबा these are mostly done by a psychiatrist. ECT केबे भी काउंसलर माने दियंती नाही. इलेक्ट्रोकन्वल्सिव थेरापी ECT कोन काउंसलर माने कहउचंदी कि दिले दउ नाहंती. Even counselors can never prescribe a tablet. Psychiatrist ही counselor माने psychologist I mean psychologist here. The psychiatrist they prescribe medicine. जदि depression ହେଲା तो what are the treatment that are available? जेमिति आमे पढ़िले physiological, biological, genetic causes से गुडाकर सेही ट्रीटमेंट ता होची ECT जोटा कि इलेक्ट्रोड ब्रेन रे देकी ताकू ये शॉक देला माने देयर आर चांसेस दैट जो ब्रेन रा abnormality हेची ब्रेन रा secretion disturbance होची that will be cured. ता सहित आउ biological केमिति ट्रीटमेंट हबो by prescribing antidepressant, mood stabilizing drugs and support with day-to-day matter while ill recovering. That is this the last one is done by the counselor or the psychologist. Antidepressant and mood stabilizer, these drugs they come under this biological treatment because ए जो medicine टाकू नेबे से medicine टा जाई कि brain रे काम करिवो तार असर देखेबार brain रे सेट पई that is included in एथिरे ताकू include करा हेची. So treatment that are used less often but which can also be helpful are in ECT. Then another one is special type of surgery, psychosurgery. सेटा usually psychosurgery होनी और bright light therapy for seasonal जोटा मु कहिली जे एसडी लोक मानकर ट्रीटमेंट लाइट रे होची that can also be included under this biological treatment. एई सब छडा एथिरे हर्बल मेडिसिन भी दिया जाय परिबो. ट्रांस cranial magnetic stimulation सेटा भी गोटे biological treatment. So treatment of depression can be broken into two types. First one is the chemical and biological abnormalities that occur in the brain or our body system leads to disorder, and they can be cured through antidepressant, mood stabilizing medication, and ECT and psychosurgery through that can be cured. Another one is psychological ones, that is in psychotherapy or through talking treatment. खाली कथा हेकी भी हमें ट्रीटमेंट करि परिबा. And counseling is the treatment through talking by using psychotherapy. Different type of behavioral treatments can be given. Different type of treatment that involves only the presence of the counselor. Counselor अन्य कोनोसी एड न नेकी अन्य कहार हेल्प न नेकी अन्य कहार माने ए जो ECT रो हेल्प न बनाही बा कोनोसी मेडिसिन रो हेल्प न बनाही काउंसलर ट्रीटमेंट करिबो. ସେଇଟା ହଉଛି ସାଇकोलॉजिकल ट्रीटमेंट। ଆଉ ଯଦି मेडिसिन ECT साइकोसर्जरी ए सब करा हैला दैट इज डन बाय द साइकियाट्रिस्ट। तो अबे जो दीटा टाइप रो पढ़िले मेडिसिन एंटी डिप्रेसेंट टैबलेट सेटा होची एंटी डिप्रेसेंट होची ट्राइसाइक्लिक एंटी डिप्रेसेंट। आउ गोटे होची SSRI सेरोटोनिन सिलेक्टिव सेरोटोनिन रीअपटेक इनहिबिटर और सेरोटोनिन SRI बोली भी कहा जाउची SSRI भी कहा जाउची। दीज आर द मेडिसिन्स गिवन। ट्राइसाइक्लिक एंटी डिप्रेसेंट एगुडा होची आ एटा होची SSRI। देन मानोमाइन ऑक्सीडेज इनहिबिटर ए सब गुडाकर काम कौन होची थिले से माने जाईकी हमर जो न्यूरोट्रांसमीटर्स अछंती से माने हमर ब्रेन रे डिफरेंट सेल्स डिफरेंट टाइप ऑफ न्यूरोट्रांसमीटर को रिलीज करूचंती। हमें कौन एबे कहले डोपामाइन ऑक्सीटोसिन ए सब जो कहले सेमती कॉर्टिसोल भी गोटे अछि सेरोटोनिन अछि। कॉर्टिसोल एक्सेसिव secretion of cortisol leads to depression। excessive secretion of this oxytocin dopamine एटा डिप्रेशन को कमे दबा। ता छडा आउ गोटे अछि बेंजोडायजापाइन बोली गोटे ड्रग अछि सेटा होछि से ये जो नाटा मने पके पानी बेंजोडायजापाइन ड्रग ता कहार सिक्रेशन को एक्सेलरेट करे एथरे लेखा जाइनी से जहाँ भी हो अमीनो एंटीबायोटिक एसिड सेटा को तार सिक्रेशन को बढ़ाए। तापरे एसएसआरआई जोटा कहली से सेरोटोनिन रीअपटेक करे बा सेरोटोनिन रो सिक्रेशन को increase करे। देखो all antidepressant work by boosting one or more chemicals or neurotransmitter in the nervous system. These chemicals may be present in insufficient amount, that's why we feel depressed. So this secretion should be boosted, that should be enhanced by taking this antidepressant. This will help in excessive secretion of the neurotransmitter. This way we feel happy or the depression goes away। सेमती मूड स्टेबिलाइजर गुडाक लिथियम होची इज ए मूड स्टेबिलाइजर। देन इलेक्ट्रोकन्वल्सिव थेरेपी विषय भी लिखा है दो दैट इज नो मोर यूज्ड that is not much in use nowadays। then psychodynamic approach to depression आमे जो theories रे जेमिति psychodynamic treatment गुडा पढ़ी थिले that can also be आगो गुडा करे आमे पढ़ी चंती कोन psychoanalytic treatment psychodynamic treatment जोटा फ्री एसोसिएशन ड्रीम थेरेपी ए सब जो पढ़ी चंती सेटा को भी यूज करा जाय परिबो। इंटरपर्सनल साइकोथेरेपी को भी यूज करा जाय परिबो। बिहेवियरल थेरेपी रो विभिन्न टेक्निक्स को आमे जो पढ़िले ताकू भी यूज करा जाय परिबो। कॉग्निटिव बिहेवियर थेरेपी को भी यूज करा जाय परिबो टू क्योर डिप्रेशन। अच्छा विक्टर फ्रैंकल का विषय किए कोन पढ़ी से ଟିକେ कुहो तापर एटा हमें पढ़िबा। पर्सनालिटी डिसऑर्डर अछि नेक्स्ट तापर एटा जेंडर आइडेंटिटी डिसऑर्डर अछि। कार एटा अनम्यूट हे कि रहछि म्यूट कर दियो। ईटिंग डिसऑर्डर ता लास्ट अछि कोन पढ़ी से विक्टर फ्रैंकल का विषय ଟିକେ कुहो केले। ईटिंग डिसऑर्डर कोन रे ईटिंग रे पुनी कोन डिसऑर्डर हबो
डिप्रेस है कि मैडम जहाँ पारले खाई देथिबो
डिप्रेशन रे माने हाउ हाउ हे कि खाई चलीबो। आउ कोन ईटिंग डिसऑर्डर मते तो लागछि वर्तमान रो सबुठ बड़ डिसऑर्डर होछि जोटा कि कॉमनली सीन अमंग पीपल इज ईटिंग डिसऑर्डर। I don't know if you will agree with me।
मोबाइल एडिक्शन
हाँ
मोबाइल एडिक्शन
नहीं इटिंग डिसऑर्डर मोबाइल टा इटिंग हुआ ना
ଇଟିଂ ତ ମ୍ୟାଡାମ ମାନେ ସମସ୍ତଙ୍କୁ ଅଛି ମାନେ କାହା ଭଲ ଜିନିଷ ନ ଖାଇକି ମିଠା ଖାଇବା ଚାହିଁବା କି ଖାଲି ସବୁ ଜିନିଷ ଚିପ୍ସ କ୍ରିସ୍ପ ଖାଇବା
हाँ
these are
ठीक
also
ଅଛି हाँ जंक फूड खाइबा एक्सेसिव जंक फूड आउ अनहेल्दी खाइबा एगुडा तो आउ कोन होची इटिंग डिसऑर्डर
मैम इटिंग डिसऑर्डर रे माने बॉडी शेप और साइज को नहीं कि स्ट्रेस रहइबो
गुड
आ निजर डाइट प्लान भी मैनेजमेंट करि परिबेनी
इटिंग डिसऑर्डर जोटा हमें कहउचंती एक्सेसिव इटिंग और अनहेल्दी इटिंग बिंज इटिंग जोगुडा सब कहउचंती दैट इज वन एस्पेक्ट जेमि बाइपोलर रे मु कहनी मैनिक और डिप्रेसिव अछि एटा त माने जोटा कहउछ जेमि मैनिक एक्सेसिव जो जिंस जोटा आउ गोटे होची वर्तमान तमे माने देखि परथुबो आखो पाखो सांगो साथी को भितरे देयर इज excessive concern about one's figure, one's weight, how one looks. And to maintain a thin and slim figure, people love to starve.
not it
ना ଆମର ଏଇ 10 ଜଣ ଆଟେଣ୍ଡ କରୁଛ ତା ଭିତରୁ 5 ଜଣଙ୍କର ଏଇ ଇଟିଂ ଡିସଅର୍ଡର ଥିବ
ମୋର ଅଛି ମ୍ୟାଡାମ
ମୁଁ ଏଇଟା ଖାଇବିନି ମୁଁ ସେଇଟା ଖାଇବିନି ଠିକ ଅଛି ଅନହେଲ୍ଦି ଜିନିଷ ୟୁ କ୍ୟାନ୍ ଆଭଏଡ୍ ୟୁ ସୁଡ୍ ଆଭଏଡ୍ बट अनहेल्दी जिनस जगह मु खाइबिनी कहिकी कौन इंटरमिटेंट फास्टिंग लो नो कार्ब फूड आ गोटे कौन पिले आ गोटे जोटा आमे कहउचंती नो मिल्क को
vegan
वेगन लो कार्ब एटा सेटा नो फैट ये सब लो कार्ब लो कार्ब
कार्बोहाइड्रेट न खाली प्रोटीन थिबो कीटो डाइट एमती
ओनली प्रोटीन फूड
हां कार्ब नथिबो बहुत कम थिबो 40 ग्राम
ताकू छाड़िले excessive gymming excessive exercise is required gymming आमे कहि परिबानी exercise is required for a healthy life किंतु से सब को छाड़ी देई कि excessive gymming माने दिन 4 घंटा यारे सेति कि न्यूट्रिशन देह को नौ नथिबो and there is a dream for zero figure करीना कपूर केमती zero figure करथिला सेमिति zero figure मु करिके रहिथि so that is known as ए figure उडा के करचंती मिस ब्यूटी पेजेंट contestant they should maintain this type of figure जनरल लोकों को पाई कि एते किछि दरकार नहीं one should have a healthy weight according to our height our weight is determined and we should have a good health तो सेटा को आमे कहउचंती not eating starving that is anorexia nervosa heavy eating bulimia out a binge eating these are the 3 type of eating disorder these are the 3 type of eating disorder in this chapter we will discuss what are the eating disorders and what are the causes of eating disorder how it can be treated do you feel that eating disorder should be treated darkar kon eating disorder treatment
नेले हेल्दी रहिबोनी मैडम से पीपल जदी ता
so when a person eats or refuses to eat in order to satisfy his psychic needs and not the physical needs then it is called eating disorder actually why we eat to maintain an equilibrium we eat our body needs some amount of carbohydrate some to give us energy our body needs some amount of water when the level of water goes beyond that below that level we feel thirsty similarly when there is lack of carbohydrate lack of glucose in our body we feel hungry and we eat So the equilibrium is disturbed, and hunger is simply a physiological state, a physiological need, because it is grouped under the physiological motivations. When there is a disturbance in our bodily functioning due to lack of carbohydrate, we usually feel hungry. But when someone so when we are hungry, we try to get some food to bring up the equilibrium or to maintain the equilibrium by bringing up the level of carbohydrate. ଯେତେବେଳେ this is not about the physiological need of the body, rather it is the psychological or the psychic need, then it is called eating disorder. ସେଇଟା ହେଇପାରେ to accumulate more carbohydrate or not to take any carbohydrate. ସେଇଟା ଦିଟା ଯାକ ବି ହେଇପାରେ. So these are anorexia nervosa, bulimia and binge eating. These are the eating disorder. We lose weight because of illness also, but when we lose weight by not eating, it is called a eating disorder. And the culture is mainly responsible for this eating disorder, because it has become a trend nowadays to develop, or we are bound to develop this anorexia nervosa. ମାନେ ଆମେ ସମସ୍ତେ ଦେଖୁଛନ୍ତି ଇଏ ତ ପତଳା ହେଲାଣି, ସିଏ ତ ପତଳା ହେଲାଣି, ମୁଁ କାହିଁକି ଆଉ ଛାଡ଼ିବି, ମୁଁ ବି ଏଇ ଗ୍ରୁପରେ ମିଶିଯାଏ, or I should. So in the initial phases, how across culture eating habit is there, and whether there is eating disorder in other cultures also, and in India. So anorexia nervosa is a condition characterized by refusal to maintain minimum normal body weight, voluntary self-starvation, and an intense fear of becoming fat. ଯାହାକୁ ତମେ ଦେଖିବ ସେମାନଙ୍କର ସମସ୍ତଙ୍କର ଏଇଟା up to a particular age, they go on eating anything everything they get, they eat unhealthy food. ଛୁଆ ମାନଙ୍କୁ ଦେଖିବ ଯେ ଏଇ ଯୋଉ ଚିପ୍ସ ବିପ୍ସ ସେଗୁଡା ସବୁ ପ୍ୟାରେଣ୍ଟସ ଦେଇକି ସେ ହାବିଟ ଡେଭଲପ କରୁଛନ୍ତି. ସେ ବୁଲିମିଆ initial stage they experience bulimia, but after a particular age they start this anorexia nervosa. And bulimia nervosa is characterized by recurrent episodes of binge eating while experiencing a subjective sense of lack of control over eating. The regular use of extreme weight compensatory methods. ମାନେ କେତିକି ବେଳେ ବେଶୀ ଗୁଡାକ ଖାଇଲେଣି ତ କେତିକି ବେଳେ ଏଇ ଯୋଉ weight reducing methods ଗୁଡାକୁ ବହୁତ ଜଣ ଅଛନ୍ତି, they go to a party, they take anything they get there, ତାପରେ ସେଇଠୁ ଆସି ଗଲା ପରେ ଘରକୁ ଆସିକି ପାଟିରେ ହାତ ପୁରେଇକି ବାନ୍ତି କରୁଛନ୍ତି. ମୋର ଏଜ ଗ୍ରୁପ ରେ ମୁଁ ବହୁତ ଜଣଙ୍କୁ ଦେଖୁଛି ଏଇ ପ୍ରକାରର ରୋଗର ଶିକାର ହେଇଛନ୍ତି. ନର୍ମାଲ, they are leading a normal life, but they feel that they at this age they want a figure like a teenager, and ସେମାନେ ବହୁତ ଜଣଙ୍କର ମୁଁ ଏଇ ଅବସ୍ଥା ଦେଖୁଛି. And those who are doing exercise, those who are gymming, those who are taking healthy food, that is different, that is not a eating disorder. ଏଇଗୁଡା ଯୋଉମାନେ କରୁଛନ୍ତି ସେମାନେ. And what is binge eating then? It is characterized by recurrent episode of binge eating, but unlike bulimia nervosa, no extreme weight control behavior is present. So anorexia nervosa hଉଛି excess starving and adopting different methods of reducing weight. Binge eating hଉଛି excessive eating. Bulimia nervosa, it is characterized by binge eating and weight loss, heavy weight loss programs. So instead of taking a balanced diet, What is mean by anorexia nervosa? It is nervous loss of appetite. Is anorexia nervosa. So people with anorexia do not lose their appetite but are often hungry and preoccupied with food. They want to eat but seem to be starving themselves. Anorexics might even love to cook for others. They might read recipe books, prepare meals, shop for food, and even work in restaurants. But they are always avoiding eating and caloric rich food themselves. They usually have a distorted body image and think they are fat when they are wasting away. Um, and many anorexic people try to hide their bodies in oversized clothes. ସେଇଥିପାଇଁ କି ୟାକୁ ଗୋଟେ ମାନସିକ ବିକୃତି ବୋଲି ମଧ୍ୟ କୁହାଯାଉଛି. They love to eat, they want to eat, they are hungry, but they starve because they might look ugly, they might put on weight. As they love food, as they want to eat, they cook different recipes. Their hobby is cooking, but they never eat. So, how to diagnose anorexia nervosa? And people are diagnosed as anorexic if they weigh less than 85% of the expected weight for their age and height in normal circumstances. They might look extremely thin, feeble because of their significant weight loss, and they often have other health problems like low BP, constipation, dehydration, low body temperature. These are the symptoms associated with anorexia nervosa. ମୁଁ ମୋର ଜଣେ ଚିହ୍ନା ଲୋକଙ୍କୁ ଦେଖୁଛି ଯିଏ କି around 35-40 years, and she is such a fitness freak that she spends most of her time in all these activities, and ସେଇଥିପାଇଁ କି ମୁଁ usually notice କରେ ତାକୁ ବହୁତ ସମୟରେ ଥଣ୍ଡା ଲାଗେ, ତାର ବଡି ଟେମ୍ପରେଚର ପୁରା ଥଣ୍ଡା ହେଇକି ଥାଏ ତାକୁ ଯେତେବେଳେ ଛୁଇଁବ. ତାର लो बीपी ପାଇଁ କି ସିଏ ବାରମ୍ବାର ମୁଁ ଦେଖେ ଯେ ସିଏ ମୂର୍ଚ୍ଛା ହେଇକି ପଡୁଛି. ସିଏ କହେ ଯେ ଏଇଟା ମୋର କୌଣସି ଅଲଗା ଫିଜିଓଲୋଜିକାଲ କାରଣରୁ ଏମିତିଆ ସବୁ ହଉଛି. ସୋ DSM-4 ରେ ବି ଆନୋରେକ୍ସିଆ ନର୍ଭସାର ଡାଇଗ୍ନୋସିସ୍ ବିଷୟରେ ଦିଆହେଇଛି ବା ସିମ୍ପଟମ୍ସ ବିଷୟରେ ଦିଆହେଇଛି. ତାକୁ ଆମେ କହୁଛନ୍ତି ଡାଇଗ୍ନୋଷ୍ଟିକ କ୍ରାଇଟେରିଆ. ପ୍ରିଭାଲେନ୍ସ ଅଫ ଆନୋରେକ୍ସିଆ ନର୍ଭସା ଆଉ ପ୍ରିଭାଲେନ୍ସ ହଉଛି କେତେ କେତେ ଦୂର ପର୍ଯ୍ୟନ୍ତ ଇଏ ଦେଖାଯାଏ ଆନୋରେକ୍ସିଆ ନର୍ଭସା ଲୋକଙ୍କ ଭିତରେ. Usually female experience this anorexia nervosa, and every male suffer. There are 1:15. One male is to 15 female suffer from this type of disorder, and anorexia usually starts at between age 14 to 16 years. Then bulimia nervosa, it is characterized by sporadic episode of compulsive binge eating. People with bulimia rapidly eat lots of carbohydrate-rich food in a seemingly uncontrolled way. They eat more than just a load of cookies. They could eat a whole pizza, whole tub of ice cream, several giant packs of potato chips. जोड़ा हमें कहिले कि excessive eating करंती. They usually choose food that are soft and easy to chew. ସେମାନେ ଏମିତିଆ ଫୁଡ ନେବେନି ଯୋଉଟା କି ସେଥିରେ ବହୁତ କଷ୍ଟ ହଉଥିବ ଖାଇବା ପାଇଁ. They usually ends with stomach pain, some kind of purging, either self-induced vomiting or defecating as a result of taking laxative. Some people begin their binges by eating colored marker food, so they will be able to tell when they have thrown up all the food they took. So, diagnostic criteria for anorexia nervosa. It is characterized by eating an amount of food that is definitely larger than most people would eat with a specific period of time in a similar circumstance, a sense of lack of control over eating, recurrent behavior to compensate of their overeating and prevent weight gain, including vomiting, laxative, and fasting, excessive exercise. They occur both in binge eating and compensatory behavior at least twice a week. Self-evaluation, that is over-influenced by weight and body shape. Bulimia behavior, that doesn't occur only during episode of anorexia nervosa. So impact of bulimia कौन होची? They often suffer floppy cheeks, a bit like those chipmunks. Their tooth enamel could often decay because in bulimia they take excess. The tooth enamel can often decay because of the acid they bring up when they are vomiting. They have little calluses on the back of their hands caused by the rubbing against the upper teeth while sticking their finger down their throat. केते प्रकार रे देखो बुलिमिक मानकु कष्ट होची कारण they eat a lot and they start vomiting after that. तो एई सब जिंस से मानकर होची जेतेबेले आमे वोमिट करूचंती with our food, because when the food enters our gastric system, some gastric juices are secreted and these are in the form of acids, and if we vomit then that acid comes with the food. Jehetu they are repeatedly vomiting the food they take, so these acids start decaying their teeth and the teeth becomes disfigured, discolored, and se jo hato mari mari jo बांति करंती सेठी पई कि ताकर हातरे भी calluses देखा जाए. They have problems with their digestive tract, dehydration and nutritional balance, and anxiety, depression and sleep disturbances भी सेमानकर हेइथाए. Then binge eating is characterized by episode binging without the use of compensatory behavior such as purging that seen in bulimia nervosa. Two common pattern characteristics of binge eating: compulsive snacking over long interval or a consumption of large amount of food at one time beyond the requirement to satisfy normal hunger. The triggers of binge eating: particular stressful situation, particular upset thought, feeling guilty about something, feeling socially isolated. These are the causes of binge eating. Usually you also must have noticed that adolescents who experience this type of problem, they start binge eating. So worries about responsibility, problems of the future, boredom. We also take a lot of food or take a lot of this packeted food egudaku खाउचंती when we feel bored, when we feel isolated, when we are under stress. आमे भी देखुथिबो जे जहा इच्छा से खाद्य खाइदबा पई कि केबे भी पछौ नाहाती. Causes can also be discussed in terms of the biological theory. Our food habit is regulated by hypothalamus. ଆଉ ସେଇ hypothalamus रे किछि गोटे imbalance, lateral hypothalamus ଆଉ ventromedial hypothalamus. Lateral hypothalamus is there for creating hunger, that controls our hunger or creates hunger. Then ventromedial hypothalamus reduces our hunger. When there is any problem in this area of hypothalamus, then people are likely to have these eating disturbances or eating disorder. ଆଉ ଗୋଟେ set point theory रे से experiment करिକି देखा गला जे the set point एटा देखो the theory proposes that various parts of the hypothalamus work together to create something like weight thermostat, a weight set point that predisposes people to stay at their natural body weight. When the set point falls below a certain level, parts of the hypothalamus would also decrease the metabolic rate if a person is expending too much energy. If people exceed that set point, then another point in the hypothalamus is activated that reduces hunger. जोटा हमें कहले lateral or ventromedial. People exceed their set point, then another point that activated to reduce hunger and therefore reduces eating and restore the weight balance. The set point is thought to be determined by a person's genetic makeup, early eating practices, and the body's need to maintain equilibrium. तमने देखिथिबो जे सांगटा बहुत पतला देखा होची बा मनिषटा बहुत पतला देखा होची किंतु खाइला बेले ଏତେ ଅଧିକ ଖାଉଛି because his or her set point is too high. ସେଥିପାଇଁ ସେ ଅଧିକ ଖାଉଛି, but that doesn't mean କି ସିଏ ଅଧିକ ମୋଟା ହେଇଯାଉଛି. The problem with these biological theories is that it is unclear whether the brain dysfunction and changes in the neurotransmitters are causes or effect of the eating disorder. Cultural theory भी अच्छी, many theories. Cultural theory कौन पिले ଯେତେବେଳେ ଆମେ ଦେଖୁଛନ୍ତି people around us have started starving or regulating their food, and they have started looking slimmer, beautiful and younger, we also get carried away by that idea ki we should also start this type of anorexia nervosa or less sitting. That will also make us slimmer, and that will also make us look younger and beautiful. So we are influenced by our people, by the people around us, and this is prevalent in many of the culture, basically in the family, western culture. Then family functions, ସେମାନେ ବି ଗୋଟେ ପ୍ରକାରର ଆମକୁ ଏ ଯୋଉ ଇଟିଂ ଡିସଅର୍ଡର କୁ ଗାଇଡ କରି ଦଉଛନ୍ତି। ଆରେ କଣ ଏତେ ମୋଟା ଦେଖାଗଲୁଣୁ, ଏତେ ଖରାପ ଦେଖାଗଲୁଣୁ, ଏମିତିଆ ସବୁ କହିକି ଆମକୁ ବାରମ୍ବାର ହ୍ୟୁମିଲିଏଟ କରିବେ କି ଆମେ ୟା ଭିତରୁ ଗୋଟେ ପ୍ରକାର ଇଟିଂ ଡିସଅର୍ଡର ଟେ ଆରମ୍ଭ କରିଦଉଛନ୍ତି। Cognitive behavioral and psychodynamic theories are derived from the increasing popular idea that eating disorders are linked with dieting behavior, and it is just like a stimulus response mechanism. Stimulus response mechanism जोटा behavioral theory कहूची जे ଆମେ whatever we do is to respond a particular stimulus, that this type of disorder also a response to the stimulus we face. Anorexic might be striving for perfection and so go on diet to achieve their ideal weight. When they reach this goal, they might well receive admiration from those around you. That the behavioral theory कहूची कि when we start, we look slimmer, we get admiration from our social circle or people around us. That becomes a reinforcer, and that strengthens our behavior for that anorexia nervosa disorder or the behavior of starving, and that ultimately ends up with anorexia nervosa. We get rewarded through praise, we get rewarded. So this is treatment, biological treatment. Biological treatment is actually not that fruitful. Family treatment, sometimes friends of the client and other people can also attend the meeting. The therapist encourages the family to explore its beliefs and behavior about the disorder and other related family issues. The therapist work in pair or team. The family is encouraged to do homework tasks. The specific nature of intervention is given. तार पेशेंट जे अच्छी eating habit disorder तार family ता सहित interact करके cause ताकू बाहर करती. In cognitive behavior therapy, the therapist focus on interaction between thought, feeling, and eating behavior. Behavior that create and maintain thinness are negatively reinforced by the removal of anxiety. Here, what is the conception, what is the idea of the person, what is the cognition of the person behind this type of behavior is identified, and that is dealt with. Psychoanalytic theory, the therapist tries to find out the unconscious motivation as a conscious motivation of the disorder behavior. It uses the relationship between the therapist and client to explore important relationship in client's early life. For example, the one that client had with his or her parents. सेठरे ये सेटा को खोजी कि ये बाहर करूची सेटा होची ये अच्छा आ गोटे तमर अछि पर्सनालिटी डिसऑर्डर कौन पर्सनालिटी डिसऑर्डर पिले कि अच्छा ना गलनी सब
अच्छो मैडम
अच्छा कौन पर्सनालिटी डिसऑर्डर हुआ इटिंग डिसऑर्डर तो सरला
बेसी जानी
पर्सनालिटी कौन हुआ डिसऑर्डर छाड़ दियो
personality is a whole mindset and aptitude attitude combination of these all.
Personality also the uniqueness of the individual. Every individual is unique, and the thought, behavior, attitude, everything is anything unique to the individual is called his
Okay.
personality. So there are different types of personality disorder. The term personality disorder refers to a diagnostic category of psychiatric disorders characterized by a chronic, rigid, and maladaptive pattern of relating to the world. This maladaptive pattern is evident in the way a person thinks, feels, and behavior. The most noticeable and significant feature of this disorder is the negative effect on interpersonal relationship. So, if a person with any type of personality disorder is not treated on time, that may lead to the person will not be able to enjoy sustained, meaningful, and rewarding relationship with others. And any relationship they form are often fraught with problems and difficulties. So there are different. Actually, personality disorder is described by various clusters of symptoms. So these are the type of personality disorder.
Paranoid personality,
These are the personality disorders.
schizoid personality.
Paranoid personality disorder. The people tend to be hypersensitive with an underlying suspicion of others and their motivation. This is called paranoid personality disorder. Cyclothymic personality disorder is characterized by alternating and recurrent states of depression and elation. आमे जोटा cyclothymic depression पढ़िले people with such cyclothymic disorder are called cyclothymic personality. ଆଉ ଗୋଟେ ଅଛନ୍ତି schizoid personality. They are oversensitive, withdrawn, seclusive, shy, avoidant, avoidant and avoid close and prolonged relationship, and they are often eccentric. Then explosive personality, they are characterized by sudden tantrum-like outburst of rage or verbal or physical aggressiveness. এইটা হচ্ଛନ୍ତି explosive personality. Obsessive compulsive personality भी ଦେଖିଥିବ, those who have extra concern or they are too much perfectionist. They love orderliness, conformity to social norm, high personal standard of conscience ସେମାନଙ୍କର ଥାଏ. Then hysterical personality ବି ଗୋଟେ ରହିଛନ୍ତି, that is characterized by dramatic and attention seeking. ମୁଁ ଯୋଉ personality disorder କହୁଛି, you must have come across with people having this type of personality. You can relate to them.
Yes, ma'am.
So these histrionic people with histrionic personality are too dramatic. They always try to get attention from others. They are excitable. They lose emotional stability. They are overreactive. They are self-centered. And a provocativeness and sexualization of non-sexual relationship is often combined with sexual frigidity or fear in case of this. Then asthenic personality, it is characterized by lack of enthusiasm, low energy and capability, difficulty in developing a broad sense of enjoyment and pleasure, and a poor response to even small physical emotional stresses. Antisocial personality, I mean, jahaku kahuchanti psychopathic personality, and they don't have any respect for the social norms, rules, regulations. They act in an impulsive, uncontrollable way, and they are antisocial. Then passive aggressive personality, this group subdivided into passive aggressive and aggressive. এই ତିନି ପ୍ରକାର ଭାବରେ divide କରା ଯାଇ ପାରିବ.